All right then. So before jumping into those displaying the detail sections and all those things, we need a profile page for the user, just like over here. So if I click this profile, so now we are in the profile. You can see this is the profile page where we are displaying the information of the user profile and the name, where the user can change the name and change the email address and the contact details, and he can upload his resumes. And below that we have this data table for that applied jobs by the users, and we have the companies which is followed by the user, right? So we have to create this. So to create this, first we need to update the schema. So I'm gonna close all these things, close all, and let me open the schema. So we have the job, companies, attachments, categories, and right at the bottom, all the way to the bottom over here. So let's create over here. So I'm gonna say model, user profile, open it. It's just going to be the user ID, and that is going to be a string, and that is going to be at ID and at map with underscore ID. So this is not going to be auto generated because we are going to use the logged in user ID. Okay, then it's going to have the full name, which is going to be the string, and it's going to be optional. Email, that is also going to be string optional, and contact, which is going to be string optional. And here we are going to have the applied jobs. So here I'm just going to say applied job as an array. So don't worry, this applied job we haven't created yet. Then we need to say resumes, which is going to be the resumes, and as an array. We don't have that yet too. Then we need to say active resume ID. So the user can able to upload multiple resumes, and he can keep only one resume as an active resume. So that's the thing. That's what we are planning to do here. So first let's create the applied job. So let's say type applied job, open it, which is going to be the having the job ID, which is should be a string. Then it should carry that the applied when the user applied this one, so which is going to be a date time, and at default it is going to use the now. So we don't need this. Oops. All right, so now we don't have the resume, so let's go ahead and create the resume. So over here, so model resumes. Okay, so now we created that resumes, which is going to have the ID and everything, which is should be automatically generated, something like this. All right, then we need to have the name for that resume, string. Then we need to have the URL, string. Then we need to have the user profile ID, string, which needs to be created with the relationship. Okay, so what I'm going to do is user profile which is should be mapped with the user profile, and we need to create the relation with the fields user profile ID, then with the reference of the user ID itself. Then on delete it should be cascade, something like this. So it's word wrap. Okay, so here this is not supposed to be user ID, this is supposed to be ID. User profile, yep, this is the one, right? User ID, yes it is. This we are mapping it using this user ID field only. Okay, so user ID, because for that user profile we didn't create the field name as ID, we created it as an user ID. That's the reason we are supplying it as a user ID over here. Okay, then we need to create the index and all those stuffs. So what we are going to do is I'm gonna copy this, copy it, paste it right away over there, created and updated it. Then I need to bring the index. So let's say at index, which is going to be user profile ID. Then I'm gonna say name, which is going to be, okay, this is supposed to be inside here, name, which is going to be idx underscore user profile ID, just a name for that particular index. We are assigning a name. Okay, so this is nothing but index. For this particular index, we are assigning a name, index user profile ID, and we need to apply one more index for the job. Okay, because we are using the title for the search, right? So I'm going to use this at full text underscore full text underscore, sorry, at full text, open the function, say title. So we are using the title as the but so we need to enable the full text preview, because what we are using over here is, so for the title, even if you're searching it for full text or short text, it need to work perfectly, right? So already it's working, but we need to enable this feature in the Prisma itself. So what I'm going to do is, so right after here, so I'm just going to say preview feature, which is going to be full text index and as well as full text search. Okay, so you need to enable this full text search by using this title only we are searching. So you need to enable that feature in the job, so that will be indexed properly whenever you are searching. For the next time when you are using the same term, it will be much faster than previous. Okay, that's the reason we are enabling it. So save these changes and let's get back over here and npx prisma generate, prisma generate, and let's say npx prisma db push. And there we go. So everything has been pushed properly. Let's make sure we have the user profile. Okay, string, full name, email, contact, applied jobs, resumes, active resume ID. Okay, so I hope everything is fine. Maybe if there is any issues, let's fix that later. Okay, so close this. Let's get into the app dashboard routes. So here I'm going to create a new route called user, that particular user, and here I'm going to create a new page.tsx. Okay, so inside here I'm going to say sfc. This is going to be profile page, and here I'm just going to say profile page, something like that. Okay, so now when I click this, that is going to take you to this specific profile page. Perfect. Okay, if you check it out over here, it's showing this breadcrumb, like wherever you go, it's going to, we need to display the breadcrumbs. For instance, if I click browse, and if I inside the Spotify, you can see home, search, Spotify. So this is a custom breadcrumb. We need to create it for ourselves. So let's go ahead and do that. So for this, and let's say here, class name, flex, everything should be in a column direction, and padding should be 4, and on the median device padding should be 8, and everything should be in the center, justify center, and flex. Save it, something like that. Then right after here I'm gonna bring the box, add components. Okay, inside here I'm gonna say custom breadcrumb. Okay, so over here I'm gonna create a new component in the global components. Let's say custom breadcrumb.tsx. Okay, so now before jumping into that, you need to install the breadcrumb. So if you search for breadcrumb over here, see, this is what we are trying to do now. So I'm going to copy this npm and let's say and paste it. Perfect. Okay, so now let's paste it over there. So here I'm just going to create that component rafc fc custom breadcrumb, delete it, save it, and let's import it over here. Save the changes. You should be able to see that custom breadcrumb over there. And now what we have to do is we have to import all these import statements over the top. And before that, make sure this is the client component, paste it. Okay, don't worry about it, we can fix that part. Then here I'm going to create an interface, custom breadcrumb, open it. So first you need to say what page that we are in. So custom breadcrumb page, which is going to be a string, right? Then what are the items that you need to display right after that? So breadcrumb item, which is an optional. So here it's going to be an object which is going to have the link for that particular page, and it's going to be a string, and it's also going to have the label for that particular link, and it should be an array. Okay, save it, and let's destructure it over here by using breadcrumb page and as well as the breadcrumb item, which is going to be destructured from var custom breadcrumb props. Oops. Bread. Something like this. Save it. Now it's asking for the page over here. So what we need to display over here, this is going to display the breadcrumb page, which is as my profile. Save it. And now it should display nothing because we haven't updated anything over here, right? So let's get back over here. Instead of this division, let's delete it, and let me get back here, and I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna paste it, save it. So it is going to display something like this, right? So we need to have the breadcrumb list, and breadcrumb item. So breadcrumb link href. Instead of this home, what I'm going to display is right before here, I'm going to bring the home icon from the Lucid React, which is going to say class name, width 3, height 3, margin right as 2. Save it. This is how it looks. Still it's not working perfectly fine. So what we can do, class name, flex item center, justify center, and there we go. So now you have the icon and everything. Okay, and then this is the place where we do have the separator. Okay, so right after this, the separator and all those things, this list, so this item, okay, I don't need anything over here. Okay, so oops, not including that one. This is the place where it's getting finished. Now from that to this, delete everything. This is the place where we need to map through and we need to display that. Okay, so let's use the breadcrumb item. If there is breadcrumb item, then render it. So we're gonna bring the render bracket and get the React fragments. So let's say breadcrumb item dot map. Okay, map, open it, then let's get the item and the index out of it, then render it. Okay, create the React fragments over here, enter. Here what I'm going to do is so first we need to bring the breadcrumb separator. Then for this, supply the key, which is going to be the index. Then breadcrumb item, supply the key for this also, index. and here breadcrumb link. For this, href is going to be the item dot link, then display the label item dot label. So save it. Perfect. Okay, so right after here, we need to display the page, right? Because home is going to be universal. We are not going to change anything. So at the end, we need to display what. So I'm gonna copy this from here, and here I'm just going to say breadcrumb separator, paste it, and no need of having this link at all. We don't need this link. We can simply display that the page itself, the breadcrumb page. Oh, come on, breadcrumb page. This is the component. You can check it out in the Shadcn itself, breadcrumb page. Save it. This is how it should look. This is the page name. Okay, so if in between it, if you wish to display something else, for instance, all you can do is you can simply supply the breadcrumb item, and it should be an array. It should be an object. Inside here, you need to supply the link. For instance, let's say search, something like this. Then you need to supply the label, which is going to be the search. Now you should be able to see the search in between it. And if you wish to supply one more thing, not here, let's apply one more object, and this time this link is going to be, again, let's say hash, and this time the label is going to be some job or something. So save it. See, search, some job name, and whatever that particular thing. So all you have to do is to supply the items in an array, so that is going to keep on adding in between in it. Okay, so in this case we don't need this one, delete it. Just we need this my profile. That's it. Now we have this breadcrumb over here, which is reusable completely. And let's get back to the profiles page. And right after this box, what we need to do, I need to create one more box, which is going to have the class name as flex column. Padding, of course, it's going to be 4, rounded medium, and it should have the border. And margin top, I'm going to push it a little bit further down. Width, of course, it's going to be full. Space wide, it's going to be 6. And inside here, we need to display the user profiles image. So since this is the server side component, we can access the user detail just from where, over here. So const is equals to auth. From here, I can able to access this user ID. Then const user is equals to, we need to get that current user, right? Whoever is active, we need to get that current user. So we can get that current user from, let's make this as an asynchronous function itself, from current user, which is provided by your clerk itself. So that is going to give you the objects over here, the complete user information, the name, email, and all those things. Okay, so if you don't have the user, if there is no user ID, if not user ID, then I'm going to redirect the user to /sign in. Okay, this is the place where the user will be redirected. Okay, so now we have that. And inside here, so I'm going to check if I have the user, and if the user dot has image, that's the object provided by the clerk itself, then it's a boolean value. If the user has the image, then I need to create the display that image. Okay, so let's copy the same division style which we already used. Let's import this from next image. This is how. So save it. So we are getting the domain error because this domain is not configured yet. So I'm going to copy this, and then let's scroll all the way to the bottom, and next config mjs over here. Okay, so let's create one more host name, which is going to be this. And now refresh it, it will be fixed. There we go. See, now we have that image over here. Okay, so next what we need to do is we have to bring the name form so that where the user can able to edit the text and everything. So for just like the way where it is, if I click this, I need to bring the form something like this. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay. Okay then, so now what we can do is, so in order to get that, we can literally copy the same from where, from the job component, components, this title form. I can literally copy everything from here. Then I can get back to this page, dashboard, routes, users, over here, new folder underscore components, and here let's say new file, let's say name hyphen form dot tsx. Let's paste those changes. All right, so this time this is not going to be the title form. Let's duplicate all the appearance of this. Let's say name form. Okay, and this time this is not going to have this data. This time wherever the term title is being appeared, okay, we have to change that to what, where it is schema. Let's copy the full name, copy it, get back over here. Wherever the term title we used, we have to rechange everything into the full name, something like this. So full name is required, and the initial data which is going to, this is not, this time is not going to be job id, this time is going to be user id. Delete this. The initial data should be the user profile from the Prisma client, or it can be a null. Okay, schema, it's fine. And for the default values over here, this time we have to break it over here, and we need to get the full name. Either if the initial data does have the full name, keep it, or else keep the empty string. Now the default value doesn't have that issue, and I'm gonna close all these things for the time being. Close this, we don't need it, otherwise we can simply comment this for the time being. Then what we can do is let me add this, and let me bring the name form first inside, and let's see how it is looking for the time being. So okay, so right after here I need to bring the name form from the components folder, save it. Okay, so we will run into the error only. So for that is, it does have the type error, and if I click this, it is going to display something like this. So let's go here and let's fix the styles and everything, then we can fetch the data and everything. Okay, so what we have to do is, so this is not necessary completely, so let me delete everything. Okay, and here I'm gonna bring the box from add components, close it. If it is not editing, then open it, create a div with the class name, and inside here bring the cn property, open it, and let's say text lg, double quotes, text lg, and margin top it should be 2, flex item center gap it's going to be 2, and after that if not initial data dot full name, then we need to say text neutral 500 and italic. Save these changes and let's enable the word wrap. Okay, then inside this division I'm gonna bring user circle icon, which is going to have the class name as width as 4, height as 4, and margin right as 2. Then right after here, I need to bring the initial data, full name, or I need to display there is no full name, something like that. So this is how it is going to display for the time being. Okay, then and I right after here, this is the form, whether it is editing. If it is editing, then open it. I'm gonna bring the form, which is I'm gonna copy exactly from the title form. Okay, so we're gonna, if it is editing, we are going to bring this complete stuff. Copy this, get back over here and paste it over here. If we are editing, we are going to bring that form. Okay, so then here, instead of this title, this is going to be the full name. Nothing else. We don't have to change anything else over here, right? Save it. Okay, so next we need to bring, whether it is we need to bring that button for that. So right after here, I'm gonna bring a button from add components. Okay, and inside here, this button is going to have an on click event, which is going to say toggle editing, and it's going to have the variant, which is going to be the ghost. And inside here, I'm going to say whether it is editing, or if it is editing, we need to say exit, otherwise cancel, something like this. So save this changes. Now you should be able to see this. If I click this, I can able to see that field. Okay, so what I need to do is, so this form item needs to take the complete width. So class name should be width as full. Save it. Now, okay, still it's not taking that complete width. This is should be for this form flex item center gap, of course it's going to be 2, and flex, of course it's going to be 1. Now you should be able to see this. Okay, this is how it should looks. Example, this is not going to be, I'm just going to type my name over here. This is how the name example should looks like. All right, perfect. This is all what we needed. Okay, so now we have the name form, and let's get back to the page.tsx. Now we need to supply the initial data, and along with the name form, we need to supply the user ID, right? If you check it out over here, we need to supply the user ID. These two informations we need to supply for the name form. So let's go ahead and supply that. Okay, so let's get to the page.tsx. Okay, first we need to fetch the user profile. Let's get to the page. Right after here, let profile is equals to await db dot user profile dot find unique, open it where colon user ID, and it should include resumes, open it, and order by created at in the descending order. Okay, this is what we need to do now. All right. Then let's apply initial data with the profile and user ID, which is going to be the user ID. Save it. All right, there we go. Okay, so let me cancel it. Still it's showing no full name. The reason is because we don't have any name over there, right? So now what we have to do is, okay, so now all we have to do is to get back to the form, and we have to create the API for the user, so the user can able to edit this form name and he can save this form name. So basically, if you wish to get the name from the clerk itself, you can able to get that name from the clerk itself. But what we can do is that will makes you a little bit complex. But for a very first time, whenever a user get into the profile page, he needs to fill all these details. Okay, so let's keep it in that way itself, and let's get back over here, close it, go to the app and go to the API, go to the let's create a new folder over here, user, and inside this, let's say one more time, please wait. Okay, so inside here I'm gonna say new folder called this folder. Let's keep this folder as users, and let's create a dynamic folder over here called user ID. Inside this user ID, I'm gonna create a new file called route.ts. Please make sure that is inside the user ID. Okay, so here I'm gonna bring a patch method. So let's copy any patch method, job ID, where it is, this is the patch method. Okay, let's copy this patch, copy, and let's delete the unwanted stuffs. Patch, okay, we copied the patch. We need this auth, import it. We need the next server response, import it. Okay, and we need the keep it as the values itself, and we don't need anything at all over here. Let's delete it, and instead of job ID, make sure that is the user ID, which is quite exactly the same as user ID over here. Okay, and I need to get the user ID. Okay, I think we don't need the param itself, because we can access the same user ID from where, from the auth itself. So let's delete that. We don't need that one. Okay, so we don't need this job ID at all, delete it. And next, what we need to do, we need to fetch the profile. So let profile is equals to await db.user. Let's import the db dot user profile dot find unique, open it, and here where, open it, user ID. Okay, so we are fetching that specific user ID, save it. So here now what I need to do, if if there is a profile already, if the profile is there, then we need to say, we need to update that profile ID. If there is no profile has been created yet, we need to create it. So that's the thing. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say let user profile. So if there is a profile, user profile is already existed, in that situation, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say await db.userprofile.update, open it, where the user ID itself, and comma, I need to supply the data, which is going to be the triple dot with that values. We are going to spread that. Otherwise, in the else block, what we are going to do, user profile is equals to await db.create, sorry, db.userprofile.create, open it, data using this user ID, then spread those values over here. Okay, so now everything is being resolved, and at the end you should send the user profile outside. Save the changes. Okay, if the user profile is already existed, updated, or else created it. This is what we are going to do now. Okay, perfect. So let's get back over here, the name form, and this is the place where we are sending those things, right? So here, this is going to be the users, and this is going to be the user ID, supply the values, and let's say profile updated. Save those changes. Okay, so let's get back to the inspect elements and let's get to the network, clear this, edit the form. Let me type my name over here, and if I hit the save option, it's sending the user ID and it's saying success, and now you should see my name over here, which means now it doesn't matter how many times you refresh it, I always do have my name over here because the profile, I created it. Now all we have to do is just to duplicate this name form and create the rest of the stuff. So I'm gonna copy and paste this, and I'm gonna change this to email hyphen form, and let me get back over here. Instead of name form, I'm going to duplicate all these things and I'm going to change this to email form. Okay, instead of the full name, I'm going to change this to email. Instead of this full name, wherever the term full name it's been appeared, I'm going to change everything into email, and I'm going to change it over here. Email is as required. Okay, email, and this time this type of this, it's going to be email. Let's say sample at domain.com, something like that. And no full name, let's say instead of that, let's keep it as no email. And let's get back to the page.tsx, copy this, paste it, and change this to email form. Save it. Now you should be able to see no email. Now if I click this, and if I type my email address over here, and if I click save, that should say profile updated, and it's saying my email address. And if I open the MongoDB, we have to verify it, right? So if you check your MongoDB, you should be able to see the resumes and as well as the user profile. And there we go. See, we have the user profile with the ID, the name, and the email. So now all we have to do is to get back over here, and let's create one more thing, which is going to be just copy this name form and paste it. This time change this into contact form. Enter. And this time let's get to the schema, copy this contact. Let's get back over here where it is contact form, change all these contact name form into contact form, change all the full name into contact number is required, and instead of no full name, let's change this to no contact. Save those changes and copy this, paste it, change this to contact form, save it, and you should be able to see there is no contact, and click it, change this to where instead of this, I'm going to change this to the mobile number. Whatever the mobile number you wish, you should type it over there. So here I'm just going to say +91, just like that. And if I click save, and that should create the mobile number, and that should update the record over here too. Yep, it is working as supposed to be. Perfect. And now all we have to do is to bring the resume. So if I click add, it is going to add that resume. So just like the way how we displayed it for the attachment form, we have to do the same stuff over here, and that is what we are going to do next. All right then, so in order to bring this user resumes form, what we have to do is, so let's get back to let's open up the attachments form. So I'm going to literally copy everything from there. Then I'm going to let's go to the users folder. Inside the components, I'm going to create resume form.tsx, and I'm going to paste literally everything. So here, don't worry about the rest of the stuffs. So all I'm going to do is to go here to the contact. Okay, so initial data, of course, over here, which is going to be the initial data, which is going to be it's going to be the user profile. Okay, and along with this, it's going to bring the resumes, which is going to be the resumes from the Prisma client, which is going to be the array. If it is not, it is going to load the null. Okay, and instead of the job ID, I'm going to say user ID. So wherever the term job ID it is being used, we're going to literally change everything into user ID. So don't worry, anyways, we are going to make some changes later, and we don't need this. Delete it, we don't need that stuff. And in the default values, so I think we don't need to have this default values at all. Okay, so let's keep this completely as an empty. Okay, so let's create the form alone, and for the time being, let's comment this part and comment this also. Instead of this job attachments, let's change this to your resumes or something. And over here, this is the place where we are displaying the resumes, right? For the time being, let's comment all these things inside this. Let's comment all this, and let's create simply an empty React fragments. Now we don't have any issues. Let's get back over here and go into the page.tsx, and let's display the resume form right after here. Resume, oops, I think I didn't change that name. So instead of attachment form, change all those things to resume form. Bring the resume form and supply the initial data. Save it, and let's get back here. So this is how it should looks like, your resume, add files and something. So now let's go ahead and change that stuff. So first let's fix the UI part. So let's get to the name, the resume form. Okay, so this is the place where we are displaying the resume form, right? So I don't need this. Let's keep it as completely empty. And I need to make sure this is occupying the complete length. So flex 1 on width 4. Okay, so here we go. So now it's occupying the complete length. If I open it, it is going to be like that. Perfect. If it is not editing, we need to display something over here, right? So what I'm going to do is, so if the initial data consists of resumes, we need to get everything, then we need to display it. And okay, so on delete, we are getting some error because in the on delete, we are receiving it as an attachment. This is going to be the resume, and which is going to be the resumes. Okay, so now we don't have that error over there. Don't worry about this API, we can fix that later. So this is going to be this resume ID, this. Okay, let's fix that later. Okay, so save it. Okay, so fine. And now all we have to do is to on submit, whenever the form is being submitted, This is the place this APIs it's going to get triggered, right? So what I have to do is inside the APIs, we have the jobs and job ID. Let's copy this attachments and let's get into the users folder, user ID folder, and let's paste it inside the user ID folder. Paste it. This time, make sure that is inside the user attachments. Okay. So this is not attachments. This is going to be the resumes. And this is not going to be attachment ID. That is going to be resume ID. Let's click over here and get back over here. Okay. So, first what we need to do, we need to create. So let's get this. Let's make sure that we are in the post route, right? We are in the post route, and I don't need this. I don't need this, and I don't need this param, and I don't need this at all. Okay. So I'm gonna get the so what is the name that we are receiving inside resumes in the job? What are the name that we are receiving in the job? We are receiving it in the name of attachments, and here we are receiving it in the name of resumes. So let's copy that and let's get back over here. So I'm going to receive it wherever the term attachments are being used. I'm going to change this into resumes. Okay, so we're going to have the URL, and wherever the term attachment is used, this need to be changed to resume, and wherever the term existing resume, db.resumes, find first using the wait, it's getting quite confusing now. Okay, so what we can do is let's undo the changes first. Let's change it one after another. So first, what we need to do, instead of this job ID, wherever the term job ID we've been used, let's duplicate everything into resume ID. Fine. Now it is done. So okay. So instead of this attachments, wherever the term attachments it's been used, replace everything into. So let's open the schema and copy this resume's name and let's paste it. Okay. So resumes, everything is form invalid resume format. Okay. Instead of this attachment, this is supposed to be the resume. Okay. Resumes. And instead of this attachment, duplicate here, 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 here. Okay. And here, this is going to be resume. Okay. So here, let's get the resumes. And this is going to be, let's open the schema. So ID, this ID. So let's get back over there. For that particular ID, if the URL is already there, which means the file is already there, so we don't want to upload it again, so we need to skip the insertion. So instead of this, resume with the same URL already exists with that resume ID. Okay, fine. So here we are going to create that, this change to be resumes created at URL. Okay, and this time this is going to be the user profile ID, which is going to be the user ID. Okay, so we need to insert it in that way. Okay, fine. User resume post. So instead of created attachments, this, let's say created resume. And instead of created resumes, let's say created resumes. Okay, I think it's already like that only. Fine, create new resume. Perfect. All right, I hope this should work now. Let's save it. And here, this time, this is going to be the users and resume form. Let's get back over here, contact form, user ID. Okay, copy this user ID. User ID is there, and this time, instead of attachments, this is supposed to be resumes. So copy this and paste it over here, and here resume updated. Let's send the values. Okay, and let's copy the same stuff from here and let's apply it over here. User ID resumes slash API slash users user IDs resumes, and here we are sending the resume ID, so you will get the resume.id, and let's say resume removed. Okay, this is for deleting purpose. And let's get into the API, this particular one. So this is going to be user ID, right? So we don't need this user ID over here. Let's delete that. All we need to get the resume ID alone, because we can get that user ID from the authenticated user from here. So I don't need this job ID. And wherever the term attachment ID is used, to change it to resume ID, and I don't need this. So attachment, this is going to be the resumes. Find that specific. Let's change this to resume, and wherever the attachment it is being used, let's change those things to resume. Perfect. Resume.id is equals to params is equals to that resume ID. Okay, fine. If you do able to find out that, we need to delete that, and we need to delete it from the resumes as well as, and here we need to say resume deleted successfully, and let's change this to resume deleted. Oops, resume deleted. Perfect. I hope this will work. Let's see. If it is not, we are going to spend a lot of time in checking it. Okay, so let's pray the God it will work. I think I changed everything a lot. Okay, so let's click inspect elements, and let's get back over here, console. Okay, click the network, and let's get back over here, add a file. And now if I click this, I should be able to choose multiple files. Okay, let's choose this one, open it. It is uploading, and we are getting an error. What is that error? Value is not iterable. Let's check it out. Wait, let's get back to the profile. Click here, choose multiple resumes, click add, choose multiple files, open it, console, attachments, uploads. We are not getting why we are getting that issue. Where it is. Okay, so let's check the firebase.google.com. If it is being uploaded in our firebase.google.com in the sense, then there is a mistake in our on summit event only. Let me get to the storage, and oops, not that one. Let's get to the attachments. Okay, so we got all our files over here. See, the files are being uploaded. There is no issues in it. It is working. I think it's the because of this. So this on change event over here, this is the place where we are getting the issues. So we are not supposed to send, this is supposed to be resumes. Copy this, change this, all this thing into resumes, save it. Okay, it's saying it's not exist. On change, why it is saying this is as not exist? Because for the on submit event, what we are receiving, we are receiving attachments here. Form schema should be resumes. Okay, so and here also it should be resumes. Fine. Okay, so now let's check it out. We need to get the console log over here, right? So before pushing it to the form, so if I click this, if I able to choose this file, and here we are getting an uncaught error in the attachments. The attachments uploads, here we are getting an error in the on change. Maybe I think this issue because by the time when I am copying and pasting the attachment form into the resume form, I was deleting something over here, see, because it doesn't have the default values and it doesn't having this arrays and everything. So I was deleting it, right? That's the reason I think it is because of that. So let's do something. Let me copy this. Let me get back over here and let me replace this stuff one more time. So here, assuming initial data is available has the type of any initial. So initial, instead of initial attachments, we can say initial resumes. Instead of attachments, let's change those things to resumes. So save those changes. Now we don't have that error so far. Then the type of attachment change, whatever this, it should be attachment, everything should be changed to resume. Where is this is coming from? Okay, so here change everything to resume. Perfect. Fine. I hope this should fix that issue. Let's check it out. Let's choose the multiple files, open it. Still we are getting the same issue. Why is that happening? No issues over here. We are getting the issues from in the network. This it's showing this issue over the upload. It is not coming from, it is coming from attachments uploads. It's coming from here on change event, on change. We changed all those stuff. We are getting the resumes and we are submitting it over here to the on submit event. What is wrong with this? It was working perfectly. It is uploading the multiple files. See, it's uploading the multiple files. Files are being get uploaded. Files are getting uploaded, but why it is not displaying over there? That's the issue. That's the thing we need to figure it out. I think, or maybe because of this, because the same code is working fine on for the job. If you're trying to attach any attachments, it is working fine over there. Well, let me check it now. If it is still giving us the same issue, here we go. See, it's working now. We get the object. It is working. If I check it over here, it's there. I think this is the one recently uploaded, because this is, I checked for attachments. So let me delete the last one. So maybe that's the only issue. This is the issue. I was marked it as a null because there is a possibility of getting it as a null, right? So I changed it. Now it is working. God damn it. So let's get over here and let's say uncheck these things, save these things. Okay, so now let me click upload over here, and now if I choose any other images, for instance, acknowledge PDF or something like that, let me choose this one. Let me open it. Okay, so now we are getting the array back over here. We are getting the array. Users, user ID, resumes, we are getting the issue on the API. We are having issue in the API where it is users, user ID, resumes over here. This is the place now we are getting the issue. It's saying is an unauthorized access. If not user ID, how come it is unauthorized? Because let me close this contact form, close this name form, close this profile for the time being, close this, close the attachments uploads, close all these things, email form, title form, Next.js, close this one, close this one. Okay, now let's get back over the API resumes route, this one. How come this user ID as an undefined? Because I do have this user ID over here. If I get back to the resume form, so let me check it out over here whether I'm getting the user ID over here or not. I think I'm getting the user ID over there. I'm getting it. See, because that's the reason we are getting the user ID over here. User ID. Let's make sure that user ID matches this user ID. Yes, it is. It is matching. But look at that. See, we are getting the unauthorized. See, resumes, payload. We are sending the resumes as an array. See, we are sending the name and everything. It is working, and it is saying as ID is missing. Oh, this resume ID is missing. This is what is missing. This is the response we got. Mm, okay, so this is the response we are getting from that route, right? So, what we can do is, let's get back to the resumes over here. See, it's saying this resume ID is not there. So what we can do is, let's close this. We don't need this. If not resume ID, we can, because this we are using to check that, right? So we can use this user profile ID itself, and we can use that user ID to validate it and add, come over here, user profile ID. Okay, so I think this should fix the issue. Let's check it out. Get over here and let's try to add one more file. This time choose this acknowledgement, click this, go to the console. Oh, come on, uncomment this. I think I commented that code, uncommented that, and click this one more time. Choose this one again, click this. Resumes is pending, and you should see that, look at that, it is working. So we updated the resume now. So now if I click add one more time, this time if I choose any other files, if I click OK, this should resume updated, and you should see that latest resume over here. And let me get back over here and click the resumes. And there we go. See, we have these two different files. And now if I wish to delete this, let me check it out. Let me make sure in the resumes routes.ts. So we are getting the resume ID from there, ID, and this time resume should be URL, right? That is what we kept in the schema, I think so. Yes, that's the URL. We are trying to delete it from there. So let's check it out. So inspect the elements, console, keep the network clean, get back over here, click the attachments. Okay, so let me bring the last modified to the top. This is the file we uploaded, right? This is the one last uploaded file. So I'm gonna delete this with tray, something like that. If I click, otherwise what I can do is, we have three acknowledgements over here because we uploaded it 3 times. So I'm gonna delete that acknowledgement now. Click it. Okay, so on the initial step itself we ran into an error. What is that? 4 not 4. Invalid resume ID. Resume ID over here. Are we sending the resume ID properly? On delete, users, user ID, resumes, resume ID. When I click that delete button where it is, this is the place. Yes, getting that resumes, and we are sending that ID. That is what it's coming over here, and we are sending it to the users slash user ID resumes slash resume ID. That's the mistake over here, my bad. Close it, and now refresh it. You should be able to see those things. And now if you click the delete option, you can see it is being triggered and it is successful, and you should be able to see that it is deleted. Now if I get over here, we have 3 attachments, and if I click that, see, we have only 2 acknowledgements now because that is deleted from there. And if you get back over here and if you refresh it, you should be able to only see that PDF, Vetri PDF. Okay, so the attachments, everything is working fine. Perfect. Okay, so now all I have to do is to bring one more option over here in order to make it live. So what I have to do is, so let's get over here. We need to mark that particular thing as a live. Okay, so what we can do is, why we are getting this error, because there is a possibility of, in the resume over here, there is a possibility of this user profile getting as null. This user profile should get as a null, but if you are marking it over here as null, it is going to throw you an error. So what we can do is send the profile. Otherwise what we can do, we can add double, or else we can mark it as null. Okay, so okay, this is just a type issue. We will fix that type issue later. First, what we need to do in the resume form, the place where we are displaying it, this is the place where we are displaying it. Okay, right after this division, yep, this division over here. Now what I need to do is, I need to bring this active and live option. So I need to bring that active and live option over there. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to cut it out, this one, cut it, and I'm going to create a div and paste it, save it, and right after here I'm going to bring a division with the class name. Okay, so what we can do is, we can mark this class name grid column 12, and let's mark this as call span 11, and let's mark this as column span 1. Save it. Okay, so now we should be able to see, have that. Otherwise keep it 2 and keep it here as 10. Okay, so now that's perfect. So over here in this division, now what we need to do is, I'm gonna keep this as, so I'm gonna say class name, flex item center, and justify everything in the starting point. And here so first what I need to do is, I need to have the active resume ID. So in order to get that, I'm gonna create a new state. So here use state snippet. So is active resume ID, which is going to be null. Either it can be a type of string or it can be a type of null. Only 2 possibilities over there. Okay, so then all the way to, let's bring it to the all the way to the bottom. So over here, if is active resume ID is equals to the resume okay, so this is the place where it gets trickier. This is the div resumes. Okay, so here if is active resume ID is equals to that item dot id, the particular resume id. If it is equal to that id, then we need to display something, or else we need to display something, right? So if it is equals to So when I'm going to when I click this button, I'm going to send this resume ID as the active. I'm going to mark that particular resume ID as the active resume ID. If it is say so, then it is going to create a division, class name, flux item center, justify center, width, of course, it's going to be full, and it's going to load that loader 2 with the height of class name, width of course 4, height of course 4, animate of course it's going to do the spin animation. Okay, if it is not, in that case here I'm gonna bring a button. Basically we are going to display a button, and that button, which is going to be a variant of what, of the ghost button. Okay, then class name of that button, which is going to be cn, open it. Okay, inside here I'm going to say flux item center, justify center, and right after here, if the initial data dot resumes, or sorry, the active resume id, because that is the active resume id. If the user already sets the active resume id, we're gonna have some id in that. If it is equals to that, then let's say that item dot id, then that is the active resume id, right? So we're gonna say text emerald 500, or else we're gonna keep the text as red 500, something like that. And inside this button now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a paragraph tag, and that paragraph tag is going to be, if the initial data dot active resume id is equals to item dot id, then we're gonna say live, or else we're gonna say activate, something like this. Okay, this is what we are going to display now. See, this is how it should looks like. So this is not the active, this particular resume id is not the active id in the user profile, so it's showing as activate. So right after that, this paragraph tag, what I'm going to do is, if the initial data dot active resume id is equals to resume, oops, if it is equals to item dot id, in that case I'm going to display a shield check icon with the class name of width as 4, height as 4, and margin left as 2. Okay, if not, I'm gonna bring shield x, shield shield x icon with the same style, class name as width as 4, height as 4, margin left as 2. Okay, now you should be able to see that icon over there. This is how it should looks like. So let's make some styles changes over here. Gap as 2. So for this grid, we need to add some gap. Gap is going to be 2. Now you should be able to see that. All right, so we have that now. Perfect. So now for this button click, what I'm going to do is, so for that button click, what I'm going to do, we need to do is, I'm gonna create a function. So for this button, whenever I'm clicking that button, I need to, where is that button? So here we go. So for this button, I'm gonna add an on click event. That event is going to call a callback function. It's going to say set active resume, and I'm going to send that item.id into it. Okay, this function not yet created, so let's go ahead and create that function all the way to the top. So const set active resume. Okay, so this is going to receive an resume ID, which is going to be a string, and it's going to be an asynchronous function. Why we are getting this error? Cannot declared block scoped. Okay, so set active resume ID. This is the function name. That's what I'm wondering, why it is showing an error. Yep, now it will not show that issue. Okay, so here inside, once it's coming inside, I'm going to say set is active resume ID. It's going to be the resume ID which I am receiving inside this function, that is going to be marked as active. So it is going to start loading that animation. Then I'm going to bring the try and catch inside here. If there is any error, I'm going to simply console log that error, and I'm going to say this. And then over here I'm going to copy this, then const response is equals to await instead of delete. This is not going to be, instead of this delete, I'm gonna say patch API slash users slash user ID, and then we need to update the users, right? So let's open the name form where it is. Yeah, this is the one. This is how you need to. So I'm going to copy this completely, and I'm going to get back over here. Then I'm going to paste it. So this time the values is going to be open it, and here you need to say, let's open the schema, what it is, copy the active user ID. This is the object that you need to send inside. Active user ID, it's going to be your resume ID. So this is the value that you need to send. So here, this time, this is going to be resume activated. Okay, resume activated. Save these changes. Now, if I click this, it is going to start loading and showing resume activated. But still, it's still loading. Oops, I missed the finally part. So finally, what you need to do, you need to say set is active resume ID as what? As null. Then only it will stop that loading part. That's the reason it's keep on loading. Now if I refresh it, you should be able to see this is as live. Okay, now if I add one more resume, because you can't uncheck the live resume, but if you have multiple resumes, for instance, if I upload this one more time, so this time the resume gets updated, and it's going to say, see, now if I click this activate, it shows resume activate. Now this particular resume is the active resume, and if I click this now, this particular resume is going to be active resume. Okay, so all right, so we have to do only one more stuff over here. Okay, so before deleting this one, when you're trying to delete this resume on delete over here, before trying to delete it, so what I'm going to do is over here, if the initial data dot active resume ID, if it is equals to resume dot ID, you should not allow the user to delete that. Let's say toast dot error can't delete the active resume. You can't delete the active resume. Then we simply return it. Now, if I try to delete this one, see, it's saying can't delete the active resume. This is what happens, and we are simply returning it, and still it's showing us loading. That is because of I don't have this finally over here, and over here also I need to say set deleting ID to null. Now if I try to delete this, see, I can't delete the active resume ID, so it does not allow the user to delete it, but I can delete this. If I click this, that is going to be removed from the Firebase storage and as well as from here. So we successfully updated the resumes over here. Okay, perfect. So, and there is only one more thing we have to figure it out over here, which is nothing but this particular one, right? So we are getting type error, even though if you're having everything. So what we need to do is, so basically there is possibility of it's getting null. So we need to wrap this completely and we need to support it like this. If you add mark it as null, okay, so that issue will be rectified, but we are getting, so we might run into some unwanted issues. So now there is no type error, but problem is if you try to add a file, you will get an issue over here. See, if I try to add this file, it is getting uploaded, and oh, okay, so it is working, but previously it was not working. I don't know why. So add file, click it, choose this, okay, so now it's working. The issue is rectified. So previously I was getting this error, I'm not sure. So the why is this is happening because the user profile over here, it will take some time to fill that, and that it might be a null value also. That's the reason we are adding that over here, right? So I can delete this now, delete it. Something went wrong. Why? Inspect elements, console. Resume removed. Resume removed. I think this is not there. This resume is not there. Wait a minute. Because that file URL, I think I removed it from there. User profile ID, user profile ID. Yeah, this is the one it's showing that you should delete this one because that URL, it's just not there. Let's check it out now. Okay, so click add, click open. Now if I trying to add this one more time, add it. It is need to be added up. Okay, so it is added up now, and now if I wish to activate this one, I can activate it, or if I wish to activate this one, I can activate it. Both of them are getting activated now perfectly. Now if I delete this one, this should be removed. Okay, so why this is happening is because previously when we are trying to do some changes over there, the code is not completely full, and when I applied this code, when I try to make sure this is receiving as a null data, by the time when we are making some changes over here, we ran into some unwanted type error. So that's the reason I removed it. So because of that only we got the runtime error over here. So what we are instructing over here is, if there is a user profile, use the user profile and the resumes. If it is not, keep it as a null. That is what we are trying to do. So now we don't have that error over here. Okay, so now even if you're trying to upload multiple files over here, so this should work. So let's check it out over here. Try to upload multiple files, open it. See, it is uploading, and it should get back over here. So resume needs to be created, and you should be able to see the resume is created, but they are not activated. So if you wish to activate them, you can activate them, and if you wish to delete them, you can delete them. Resume removed, and this file will be removed from your Firebase storage as well as. Okay, so we successfully finished the user profile part. All right. And in the user profile, all we have to display the applied jobs and the followed companies. That we can do later once we finish displaying the company details. After applying the jobs and everything, we can come back and display those details. Now we have our user profile with the active resume ID, so I can use this profile for applying the jobs and send the mail to the user. That's the part we are going to do next.